President Biden says that if the Senate border bill passes into law, if it passes, he gets a chance to sign it, he would use the new emergency authority provided to shut down the border when it becomes overwhelmed. Last I checked, that's what Republicans wanted. So will they really tank this for Trump, even though it has stuff in it that they want?
Yeah, I don't see any indication otherwise. You have the Speaker of the House coming out and saying it's DOA. I mean, OK, so how does he backtrack on that? I mean, the bill's not changing. Now, look, it's not in the bill language yet. The letter of intent and what the formalities of the bill have kind of been outlined. We know that the president of the United States, Joe Biden, had said very clearly, if you give me the bill, I'll do the enforcement mechanism. That ticks off some of his progressive members of his party, but it achieves ultimately the broader vision of both Republicans and Democrats to get something done on the border. Something, by the way, Republicans, a lot of members of my party have been clamoring and beating Joe Biden upside the head on for the last 3 years. Now he's giving you what you want. Border enforcement, I mean, to the nth degree. I mean, this is a very strong border enforcement bill. It also has the benefit of taking care of issues of funding for Ukraine and Israel, Israel's battle with Palestine, with the Palestinians. Right. But this is a good bill, and Republicans want to kill it. Imagine that.
Well, and Luke, more to the point, today, Speaker Johnson put out a statement. I read the letter from Friday, but today he's slamming the president and saying he believes the proposal as it stands now would allow 150,000 quote, illegal crossings before a shutdown authority could be used. And here's the quote from the speaker. At that point, America will have already been surrendered. It's one thing for Donald Trump to try to put the kibosh on this, being a former president, being, basically almost the Republican nominee, not in power. But Speaker Johnson has the power all by himself to kill this. It is DOA if a bill actually comes out of the Senate.
Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely right. The House Republicans are very much under Trump's influence, much more so than the Senate Republicans. But Speaker Johnson is trying to save his job. OK, he has a hard right.
We're back to that.
Yes, we have a hard right, and you've got he's obsessed with that all the time. He's thinking about that all the time. He has a hard right faction that wants to throw him out already. That is already talking about he's on 1 strike, 2 strike, coming to 3 strikes, and this is something he feels he needs to hold the line on, even though Republicans in the Senate have been negotiating this bill for months. And they've gotten a bunch of successions from the Democrats. They've gotten the Democrats to give them several things they really wanted. And it's the only bill that has a chance of actually passing both chambers that would actually have an impact on the situation at the border. But the politics of it in the House appear to be just too toxic for Speaker Johnson to agree to do it.
Oh, my God, it's Groundhog's Day. We've got a Speaker of the House who's he's afraid for his job again. So Molly, Congress, in addition to all of this nonsense, Congress must also deal with 2 new funding deadlines. The first one on March 1st, the next one on March 8th. Also in the mix, as you see there on the calendar, March 5th is Super Tuesday. And at that point, it is pretty much assumed that Donald Trump will be the presumptive nominee. Then the State of the Union is 2 days later, on March 7th, where President Biden goes there in a chamber that's just going to be lit. With a calendar like this, do you think we'll see more interference from Donald Trump? And by that, I mean, he's already interfering on the Senate immigration foreign aid bill. But could we see him get involved in the budget negotiations where we could have a government in partial shutdown by the time President Biden is standing in the well of the House delivering the State of the Union?
Well, look, we see Trump's MO here, right, which is to gum up the works. And by the way, this has always been Trump's MO. And this is the Freedom Caucus's MO, too, right? This is the burn it down caucus. This is Trump. They want the federal government to fail. That's the larger ethos here. I would say what's interesting about Mike Johnson is you'll remember Mike Johnson got his job because he sort of Trump decided he liked him because he had been involved in signing on to trying to overturn the 2020 election. So Mike Johnson knows he serves at the pleasure of candidate Trump. The question is, can Mitch McConnell, who clearly wants this deal, or at least he wants to make it seem like he might want this deal, could the Senate actually kind of push it through? And I'm not sure they can, because remember, there's a lot of MAGA, and there's MAGA on the Rules Committee, which is going to make it hard. But I have to say those three senators, Chris Murphy, Kyrsten Sinema, and James Lankford, they're very close. They have something if the House would pass it.
Right. And Michael, Donald Trump has threatened that anyone who contributes to Nikki Haley's campaign will be, quote, permanently barred from the MAGA camp. Haley was able to raise money off that threat. But how long will donors stick it out with her?
Not long. Not long, because the reality, based off the calendar that you showed, hits before you even get to March 5th, which is Super Tuesday. It hits in a little place called South Carolina, where as of this week, she's 27 points down. So the question for Nikki is, how does your campaign, regardless of the amount of money you're able to raise, make up 27, 28, 29, 30 points to get to the plus side, to be competitive with Trump in your home state? So that's the reality there. This clock is ticking on this campaign. Donors will, they'll write the check this week. Next week, the following week, it becomes a little bit harder, particularly if that number stays a stubborn 25, 26% difference between her and Trump. Keep in mind, Jonathan, the turnout for the South Carolina primary, the Republicans who turn out are 75% evangelical Republicans. This is not a primary with, a lot of people got the fog of New Hampshire in their eyes. Clear it out, baby. The reality is about to hit that campaign real hard, because there are no Democrats and no independents get to play in this backyard. This is all Nikki Haley and her people who elected her governor, who now don't want her to be president, because that's what it says. That's what that 27% gap says.